The 8th Annual Southern Film Festival is coming up next week and will feature 5 movies centered around the theme of screening Southern justice. Last week here on Virginia This Morning, we got an overview of the festival from the organizer, Emily Raymond, and you can watch that interview again at WTVR.com/VTM.
This morning, we welcome Richmond-based documentary filmmakers Hannah Ayers and Lance Warren. They will be screening their most recent award-winning film, An Outrage, which examines lynchings in the American South. Good morning, and thank you both for coming in.
Good morning.
This is a painful thing to look at, I would imagine, for most human beings. You're both from Virginia. You're from Charlottesville. Yes. And you were talking to Shirley a second ago, and you were mentioning dates, and some of these things happened in my lifetime. This is not ancient history, is it?
It isn't. You know, the lynchings that we highlight in the film occurred as late as 1946. Those lynchings are actually considered to be an open case. There are attorneys and families still working to solve what they consider, you know, an ongoing murder trial. So this is not ancient history. These lynchings occurred in our parents', our grandparents' lifetimes, and part of the film is talking to families, descendants of victims who are still feeling the trauma and the pain of the lynchings today.
And one of the statistics I saw on your website that said in the 1890s, 1 African American was killed in the South every 4 days on average. That is just heartbreaking.
It's a really difficult fact to grapple with, and yet it is a fact, and it was a fact of life for so many Americans. It was a fact of life for the African Americans who were killed and their families, most obviously, but also it was a fact of life for white perpetrators as well. For a third of American history, this happened with regularity. So lynching is not this outlier in the past that happened a long time ago. It's an integral part of the American experience, and it's something that we really feel that we ought to all grapple with.
And this is a documentary. Let's take a look at the trailer for An Outrage.
It was just so vicious.
It was a burning. It was like a stadium event.
He said, honey, it's a long, sad story.
These were ritualistic reminders of whose lives were valued and whose were not.
And someone has to pay for it. Some of these people are still alive. If they were not still alive, the case would already be solved.
Wow. The one phrase I picked out of that, out of many, was it was a stadium event.
Yes.
Are we talking like the Romans and it was almost taken like that?
In some cases, lynchings occurred as a spectacle, as an advertised event. Schools were let out early, trains were chartered to help bring people together to witness the killing of a human being. Other lynchings occurred in small rural areas and you know, among just 2 or 3 people. But they really ranged. It's a really disgusting diversity, what lynching meant. It wasn't just hangings, it wasn't just men, it was women, it was children, it was shootings, it was burnings. This is a much more complex history than I think a lot of people realize, including us when we first set out to make this film. We didn't realize the scope and the scale of what lynching really meant.
It's an eye-opening documentary, and after the screening, as part of the film festival, there will be a discussion.
Yes, and you know, that's one reason that we made the film just 33 minutes in length. What we really wanted to be able to do is make it long enough to say something of substance, but short enough so that you have some time and some energy to actually engage. Because we feel that today, as ever, we live in very divided times, but there should be nothing controversial about the history of lynching, right? There's no legitimately differing points of view on whether this was a good or bad thing. It was a horror, end of subject. And that should be something that we can all come together on, that we can all take an honest look at together what Americans have done to each other in the past, and we can maybe look inside ourselves at the biases that prevent us from maybe talking about this. If we can all do that, that seems like a good shared platform we can get together on, take an honest look at the past so that we can go forward more together.
Well, thank you both for coming in and sharing just a brief story. Very important film. The Southern Film Festival is September 6th through 9th at various locations across the metro area, including the VMFA and Historical Society. Admission to many of the screenings is free, and this film will be screened on September 9th at a forum in the Robbins Family Forum at the Virginia Historical Society.